Lee Lambeth, who is our VP of Retail Operations at Mercatus.
First, I want to go on record as saying, it's a misnomer that you can't make money in e-commerce. You can. You absolutely can.
So let's talk about that challenge.
Retailers often underestimate what actually is possible in terms of reducing labor.
Metrics. How should retailers be measuring the efficiency and ultimately the profitability of their fulfillment capabilities?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of whenever you're talking about optimizing anything, metrics have to be employed to see where you're at and where you're going. A lot of what needs to be measured is exactly what you expect as a retailer, all the basic KPIs associated with normal retail operations. One thing that we would highly recommend to our retail partners is create a fully loaded profit and loss statement for e-commerce. Run it in parallel against your company P&L. So this, for me, means engaging with your accounting and financing teams and really thinking about the implications of e-commerce operations. I'm going to look at things to include in that P&L, like bags and wraps as a percentage of sales, labor, margin rates, overhead. It's all on the table, and it has to be considered to ensure that you're truly measuring and understanding the impact of having e-commerce operations in your business. It's also a great idea to create an e-commerce specific budget. So if you think about grocers traditionally, there's a budget for meat department. There's a budget for produce department. Any revenue driving area of the business that you're putting labor against should have a budget. So it's important to go out and really craft a specific e-commerce budget for each store.
It's great advice. And a lot of what we talked about so far has been aligned to labor costs. Are there any other KPIs or metrics or any other advice you have for grocers using data to optimize in this area specifically?
Yes, great question. So sort of blur the line between metrics and strategies, but it's very important for retailers to develop some type of internal scoring mechanism, a scorecard that can be communicated to their store staff, really to define the cadence of work and reinforce the expectations of what to do with it. So in terms of metrics, I would look at things like sales to budget, percent of total distribution relative to the store, units per hour picked, late orders. And then in terms of communication, you want to use this information to create some type of simple tactic or scorecard where you can visualize the impact of this work. So for me, it's always been kind of the red light, green light, yellow light effect. So red light, obviously telling you you've got challenges, do something, take action. Green light, continue to do those same type of tactics and deploy those on a day in, day out basis. And yellow light telling you, hey, you're at risk here. So having that type of visualization, that type of simple approach to scoring and monitoring your metrics, it's really easy to do. It's easy to put in place. And again, it really helps the store teams understand where they're at. But just keep in mind that measurements and metrics aren't all that useful unless they're really communicated in a way which drives improvement.
That's a great point. I mean, about communication within the org, with the division and within the store. I mean, it brings up, this question of buy-in, and we've talked about this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can see how everyone on a team might not be so eager to participate or happy to change their roles to support e-commerce activities or switch from one e-commerce platform to another. That's fair enough. People are people. I mean, but for local grocers, those that have been successful for decades by simply providing, better customer service in store, and now with the introduction of e-commerce capabilities, it's like saying what you've done in the past isn't necessarily good enough anymore. How do grocers get the necessary buy-in from their teams and really put a full-hearted effort behind implementation and operating the platform?
Yeah, so here we go. That's getting the difference between theory and practice that we talked about earlier. So in theory, all these tips and tricks and tactics that we mentioned can be effectively implemented, and poof, your e-commerce operations are soaring, they're profitable, and growth is continuing to happen. But in practice, Mark, we're talking about real people, right, with different motivations, work ethics, and experience levels, implementing change management. And I really want to lean into that term there, change management. Grocery is a slow adopter. I think we know that. If you look at the history of grocery, we've kind of built stores in this industry in the same way for many, many years. So adapting change is not always easy for store teams. And it really starts with the culture that you talked about. So it's a culture change. It's a change management process that has to be put in place. So again, this really comes back to communication. So the importance of e-commerce has to be communicated throughout the organization. And that involves more than just an email saying, hey, this is an important part of profitability in the business. Showing it is often more effective than telling, in my mind. Really, I would start with evaluating the roles of e-commerce and the status of those roles, the managers, the leads, the pickers. Create an environment where those are sought after positions. Even in the hierarchy, you got to find ways to engage the store management teams as well, right? Because they are the tip of the spear. They're the leaders of that store, and you need their buy-in, and they have to be engaged and supported by it. And so one way that I've seen this actually happen with a couple organizations as they've begun to grow the e-commerce importance within the organization, they've begun to tie a percentage of annual bonuses of store managers back to this. So it really kind of, it's not only a show me, it's a tell me way of saying, tell me through your actions that you are supportive of what we're trying to achieve. And of course, you can emphasize the importance of e-commerce by building training around what good service really looks like, especially at curbside. So role playing and working with the store teams to emphasize this is what great service. I said good earlier. Let's change that to great. This is what great service looks like, and all things contribute to driving this program forward. And then again, it just comes back to communication, right? So when you look at that, show your organization what e-commerce is capable of by educating them around not only the growth opportunities, but the profitability. The average basket size in many of these retailers is 3x to 4x out of in-store basket. Now, as a former store manager myself, as I think about this in today's state, I would rush towards those 3x, 4x basket sizes versus those 1x basket sizes, right? I would try and convert customers over to being the e-commerce consumer. What I will tell you is they're going to be a hybrid, right? It's going to be an omni-channel approach. They're going to shop some with you in store, some with you online. But the more times they shop online, the more times they spend. The last thing I'm going to mention, Mark, that I think is really, really important for retailers to consider. You have a choice here. You can play offense or defense in this space. So for me, offense means you embrace it. You put together a strategy. You support that strategy. You tie it into key metrics within your organization, to different factors that impact the leadership. Defense is saying, hey, we're going to have e-commerce, but we're not going to do anything to really promote it. It's not a big thing to it, but our competition has it, so we better have it. Those that are playing offense are winning in the space. Those that are playing offense are growing their customer base, and they're rushing towards profitability. So again, it's a conscious choice, but I tend to always lead towards play offense, take the ball and run with it.
That's great. Those are some really great examples of what transpires or should be transpiring within the store environment. And communication, as we know, effective communication requires consistency. Repeat to make sure that you're being heard and you're also listening and hearing from your troops at the same time. So let's talk about communication, though, from the external perspective. Can you speak to what regional grocers should be doing to communicate and promote and market the service outside their stores?
Yeah, so let's maybe start with this. Again, you mentioned external marketing and internal marketing. So as grocers promote their e-commerce offering, it's ultimately a greater service, right? So when service is the star of the show, the individuals providing that service are really the most important form of marketing. Through great service, personal interactions, and just in general being great ambassadors, advocates of online shopping, you're going to see acquisition and retention that makes it easier to attain profitability. I'm going to state that last part again. You'll see acquisition and retention that's going to make it easier to attain profitability. And of course, beyond just the actual customer service elements, important grocers work with their marketing teams to hone into some type of programmatic approach for their e-commerce, both online and in store. So in store, I would look at things such as stanchion signs, floor decals, shelf talkers, window clings, table talkers, branded apparel. Put a T-shirt on the online shopper who's actually selecting and pulling together the orders for the customer that has some type of call to action. Shop at www.com and really kind of be a walking billboard within your stores. Look at your roadside or storefront signage of what you're doing out there. Again, this is where you play offense. You need to let your customers know you're in this business and you're in the business of shopping online and that you're happy to do so. And along those same lines, you still can lean into your marketing department for automated marketing messages that can reach, hundreds of thousands of customers each week with timely, highly relevant product recommendations. Even within the easiest implementation, Mark, and the integration of the e-commerce platform, it's never a plug-and-play scenario, right? I mean, I like to think it is. We always use the words seamless, and it will be simple, but it's really not as easy as one would always like it to be. But it takes, both the partnership between the grocery management and its technology partner to really get there. The best platform providers, in my mind, aren't just going to hand over the software and move on. They're going to be true partners, and they're going to provide the grocer with practices and trainings and ongoing support to ensure seamless implementation, but also to help them understand how to get growth, retention, and profitability.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of intel packed in there. Wow. That's worth the price of admission. We're not charging for this video. That's awesome. Lee, so we're coming to the end, and I think I just have one more question. Are there any final thoughts that you want to leave the audience listening to or watching this video to optimize their digital commerce service?
Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe this is a little bit too cliche, but the overall message here is to think of e-commerce profitability as a journey. It's ongoing. Yeah. It's going to require a holistic approach from optimizing operations, investing in the right tools to create a supportive culture that's embracing the program, to promoting the service effectively. So each of those steps is critical and crucial to your overall success. I would say stay committed to that path, but also remain adaptable to what Metrics suggests. You do these things, you should see your e-commerce thrive. You should see the key elements that you're looking for, growth, retention, and profitability, begin to really soar.
That's fantastic. We're going to dig into more of this, and we'd love to get questions from our audience. Retailers, by all means, reach out to marketing@mercatus.com or reach out to Lee Lambeth directly on LinkedIn, or we can put you in touch with him. And we'd love to be able to offer some additional guidance and advice if you're looking to optimize your e-commerce experience for your customers. So Lee, really, really appreciate your time. Have a great day, and I hope everyone else has a great day too.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.